History is written in the light, but its deepest truths are often preserved in the shadows. Some stories were forgotten, some were erased, and some were never meant to be found. Welcome to the TAMAS Archive. In our first investigation, we uncover a monstrous 3,000-mile living fortress of Thorns, engineered by the British Empire to divide an entire subcontinent and starve millions of basic salt. History books erased the people who fought back, the Ghost Smugglers. Armed with nothing but raw ingenuity, these shadow rebels began slipping through a wall guarded by 12,000 armed men, utilizing tactics that would eventually bring the British treasury to its knees. In the scorching Indian heat, salt was a biological necessity for survival. Without it, the human body begins to cramp and deteriorate. For the millions living on the wrong side of the line, salt deprivation led to death. The British enforced a 1,200% tax on this mineral. For a poor laborer, purchasing a handful of salt meant giving up an entire month's wages. By transforming a requirement for life into a tool for extraction, the empire made a desperate rebellion inevitable. The inland customs line was a 12-foot-high green wall of interlocking plum trees and toxic babool cactus. It stretched like a massive snake from the Indus River to the borders of Madras. To guard this line, the British created an army of 12,000 customs officials and built fortified camps every mile. At night, they lit massive fires and patrolled with loaded rifles, ordered to shoot anyone approaching the Thorns. The smugglers realized the British relied on rigid patterns and military schedules. They began studying these rhythms to turn the massive wall into a sieve. When a nation is pushed into absolute desperation, military infrastructure and colonial laws lose their ability to intimidate. Moving millions of pounds of salt through a 12-foot impenetrable wall of thorns required a series of tactics that baffled British intelligence. The smugglers designed heavy leather blankets and soaked them in water, neutralizing the toxic cactus spikes. They threw these blankets over the thorns to create a cushioned bridge. A human train would sprint across, dropping heavy salt sacks onto the other side before the guards could turn around. When the British increased patrols, the smugglers abandoned the surface and went underground. They spent weeks digging narrow tunnels beneath the root systems of the giant hedge, pulling salt bags through the dark with long ropes. But their most effective psychological tactic involved driving massive stampeding herds of wild cattle directly into the customs line. With small bags of salt tied to the horns of hundreds of buffaloes, the panicked animals crashed through the hedge. Amidst the chaos, human smugglers slipped through the gaps entirely unnoticed. This ingenuity and distraction began to strip the empire's military force of its strategic advantage. The physical breaches were supported by an invisible infrastructure of code words and lookouts. Villagers living near the hedge acted as early warning systems, tracking the movement of British patrols. They used specific signals, like distinct bird calls, or shifting the position of lanterns, to alert smugglers that the path was clear. Behind the villagers were wealthy Indian merchants who secretly bankrolled the resistance from the safety of major cities. These financial brokers provided the capital for operations, purchased the smuggled salt in bulk, and redistributed it through hidden markets to ordinary citizens. This network transformed localized acts of survival into an organized effort that targeted the British treasury. By the late 1870s, the inland customs line was a financial nightmare. The British were paying 12,000 guards to defend a wall of rotting thorns against a relentless underground enemy. As this data shows, plummeting tax revenues combined with the cost of repairs bankrupted the customs department. The physical wall was failing against an invisible enemy. In 1879, the British officially abolished the customs line. They extinguished the bonfires and left the 3,000-mile wall to rot. The British realized that a physical barricade, no matter how high, cannot suppress a population driven by hunger and defiance. The wall vanished from modern history because the British deliberately erased the record of their defeat at the hands of impoverished citizens. Today, the fields where the cattle stampeded have been reclaimed by peaceful farmlands and towns. Almost no physical trace of the 3,000-mile hedge remains. The victory of the shadow smugglers proved that you can never truly cage the human spirit when it fights for basic survival. The greatest secrets of history are not always hidden beneath the earth. They survive inside forgotten places and forgotten people. Every empire leaves behind monuments. Every war leaves behind graves. And every civilization leaves behind secrets. Until the next forgotten mystery. The TAMAS Archive, uncovering the unmanifested past, hidden histories, forgotten truths,